situation. So
we talked to Minnie about porta potties, so
no way.
This is gonna be that was the best thing that has come out of these interviews so far.
Dang.
She was telling us how she gets her own porta potty at the job
Which
site.
is true. I have seen that before, and some of them are pink.
Hello, and welcome to Build Me Up. This is Caitlin from Kraus-Anderson, and this month we have the exciting opportunity to celebrate Women in Construction Week. Women make up just about 10% of the construction workforce. Today, I'm joined by 4 of these women, from project managers to former interns and executives. There's something they can teach every one of us in this industry. First up is Minnie Sint, a senior project coordinator with 18 years of experience. Her background in healthcare teed her up nicely for working on projects at Regions Hospital, which she's been dedicatedly working on for over 5 years. How did you end up being a project coordinator? Was that always your plan? How did you get to where you are?
My background has always been administrative.
Okay.
And I went to St. Paul College, and way back in the day. Where you can get an administrative associate degree or a certificate or whatever. That's where I started. And my first, I should say, adult, I call it my grown-up job, was at 3M.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And I started off in chemical engineering. And the weird part about it is I've always been in a male-dominated division.
Yeah.
Always. So I started there, and then from there I went to the Barbers, and I was supporting the VP of distribution there. When they were bought out by Regis, that is when I actually put in my resignation because it's not where I wanted to go. I lived in St. Paul, and it was out in Eden Prairie, and I thought, no, we're not going to do that. So then I started looking, and I thought, I'm just going to go temp for a while just to see if I like the companies before. Because what I learned at the Barbers is I love the smaller setting.
Yeah.
So I went in and I said, I want to work temp first so I can get to know the company. Don't send me to a large company where I'm just a number. I work better smaller where I'm seen.
Me too.
Yeah. And she said, and I remember this. I don't remember the name of the company, but I remember her saying, looking at my resume and say, give me one day. If I can find someone, she goes, I want you to be permanent. I know where I want to send you, but just give me one day and I'll see if it's going to work out.
Okay.
And before I got home, she left a message, to have an interview here the next day with Sharon Leo.
Yeah.
And then she said, we have a position open for marketing secretary. So I started off in marketing, and after a while I figured out, marketing's not my niche. After that, I interviewed for pre-con.
Okay.
I've been all over. I interviewed for pre-con, and I worked for as a project coordinator, and then I came over after that. My next step was going into the CMA world.
Okay.
So I became a project coordinator for the CMA world. And after that, I moved up again, and I became a project coordinator for healthcare.
Wow.
Yes. And healthcare is my niche.
That's where you're going to stay.
I came into healthcare, I think it was about 2008.
Okay.
And I was like, this is it.
Never looked back.
And I was on the birth tower for Regions. The 2009
really?
birth tower for Regions. Yes.
That was a big deal.
Yes, it was huge. It was a huge deal. Yeah. And that was my first taste of working on the job site.
Yeah.
So I started that, and actually I left in 2014 because my plan was to become a nurse.
Really?
Yes.
Because of your healthcare experience?
Healthcare experience, yes. My plan was to become a nurse, and I did all my generals, and when I got ready to go into the program, they changed the curriculum that year where they were cutting out all evening classes for nurses. So they cut them all out. And so I just stayed because of my connections, I stayed at Health Partners because that's where I was at. I stayed at Health Partners for 9 years. And then in, what year is this? 2023, Jillian said, we have an opening back at Regents, back at the job site.
Yeah.
Would you consider coming back? And I'm like, only if I can come back to Regents job site. And that's what I did.
Really?
Yeah. So between 1999 and now, it's been 9 years away, but it was just right there at Regents. I was literally at Regents. Yes, literally working in Regents.
So you didn't really leave.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't really leave. Yeah. So I came out of the building into the trailer. And here I am.
So what does your day look like now?
My day can look different. Working in the trailer on site, your day is different every day, which I love. You're kind of on your own, and even though I am not the manager here, it's like Tom Joris, my former VP that I worked for out there, he's like, you manage this trailer. Yeah. It's yours. That's what he told me the first day. He said, this trailer is yours, you manage it, it's yours. You do it. Yeah.
That's good.
So you working on the job site, you make decisions. Good or bad. Sometimes sometimes it's like you need help and you'd like to be able to lean over and talk to another PC and say, what do you think about this? But you can't. Yeah. But it has definitely taught me to think on my feet and look ahead. I mean, it's not just something that you just deal with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
It's you have to look down the road for some things, and that just comes with experience and just working in there. So it could be, I mean, every day when I come in, the first thing I do is I check the calendars of all my people and I check the email, and then you're off and running from that. It could be, it could be change orders, contracts, anything like that. And I do all the ordering for supplies for the trailer. We're separate from here, so the supplies don't come in. So anything I need, I have to make sure it's there.
Okay. So this might just be for my own distinction, or maybe anybody listening who doesn't know. Can you differentiate for us the difference between project manager and project coordinator? Because they sound similar.
Well, yes, they sound similar, but they're not. Okay.
Yes.
Well, the project manager is actually, he's the overall head. He is the one that is running the train. Okay. I mean, I have a project manager, and then we have a senior PM. Okay. Which is Paul Charpentier. Our project manager is John Frisbee. We have a superintendent, which is Matt Olson, and then he has four labor foremen under him. Okay. So it's 8 of us all together in the trailer. The difference for me, I run the paperwork side of it. Gotcha. But I'm also in Vista, and I'm also in Autodesk. All the change orders, the PCOs, the changes, they come. I deal with those. Okay. They deal with reading the plans and doing all that because that's not my expertise. Yeah. Right.
But you have all the balls in the air that you're juggling.
I do. I do everything. I do. I'm supporting all of them.
Exactly.
Yes, I support all of them.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
That's if you don't get bored.
I'm sure.
That's the one thing. There's always something to do. Yeah. And now I'm actually the senior PC for 3 other projects in here. And back in the day, that didn't happen. If you were on a job site, you were just on that job site. Yeah. But now it's there's only 2 senior PCs in healthcare. And maybe that's because we are senior PCs. So yeah. But I have 3 jobs here plus Regents Hospital. Wow. There are days when I'm like, what am I doing?
I was going to say, you said you don't get bored. Do you ever get burnt out?
Now it's easier to reach out. There are enough PCs now. Okay. And we're all together. Before we were separate entities. Yes. Okay. It was I just had the PCs that were here in this building. Yeah. Yeah. And everybody's busy. Mm-hmm. So there was nobody to reach out to. Yeah. No, but now there's more PCs. Okay. So you can reach out. And I have no problem asking for help now. If my lead is Jillian, and I will email her and say, I'm drowning. Can you get somebody to help for a little bit? So,
Good.
That's what we do, because it does happen,
Oh, yeah.
And they always say, as a woman, we usually want to hold everything and get everything done and do everything ourselves. So
You need to look competent.
yes,
You have to have it all together.
Yes, exactly. I don't want anybody to think that I can't keep up or whatever. So my tendency is to keep it all. Nobody can do this like me. But then you have to realize, okay, if you don't, then the alternative is I call it go down the rabbit hole. So yes.
You're
And I've been down the rabbit hole and do not want to go there anymore.
Yeah. No kidding.
Because you get burnt out to the point where you make yourself sick.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah. I guess I also wanted to ask you, if you're willing to share, if you have any memories that stand out, being a woman in a male-dominant field.
For me, I have always treasured being the only woman in the room. I'm different. I am different, and I've been told, really? You think that? You like that? I'm like, yes. I am the princess in the room.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I started this when we first went out to Regents, I used to always tell them, the only opinion that matters in this room is mine.
I like that confidence.
But no, I actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I think I work better.
Really?
Yes, I work better that way. I don't. It's really weird. I've always been a girly girl. But as far as when it's in the work environment, I work well being like one or two females on the office, and like in the trailer, we did have another female. There was another PM in there that she was female, and we loved it.
Yeah,
we loved it. I prefer it.
Really.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, and like I said, I'm different. Not everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got coworkers that be like, "No, I couldn't do that." Right. And one of the funny stories is when we first started there, they brought out the porta potties. And I remember looking at Tom Joris, the VP at the time, and I'm like, "You expect me to go out there?
I know.
Behind the nasty men?" And then he was like, "They're not nasty men. He couldn't say that." I'm like, "You should take that off."
But that's sharing a bathroom with men in general.
But that's what I said, and he's like, "Minnie, you can't say that." I'm like, "But I am not gonna go in there." I'm like, "I don't even share a bathroom with my husband. I am not gonna be sharing." So then he got my he says, "We need to get the princess a porta potty." I'm like, "Yes." So I had my porta potty, and I held the key. I held the key. That key was like stuck to me. I'm like, I didn't even leave it in my desk because I didn't want anybody come in on the weekends that were working. And like, I'm going to go into the clean porta potty. I'm like, nope. I held that. Yes. That so and then one time there was one of the guys. He's like, "I think I'm going to try to make a crown big enough to fit on the porta potty." And I'm like, "Go ahead." I don't care, but that's mine.
That might be the most empowering story I've ever heard.
Yes. I have no problem with my saying, the princess needs her porta potty. Yes, I do.
Of all the things you were going to say, I did not expect it to be that.
That's what you don't think about it when you're going out on the job site.
No.
That's not something that comes to your mind.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with everyone?
Well, it's like, I don't know if most women think about being a project coordinator. When you say the construction world, they think of project engineers and becoming a project manager. Those are the two things.
Or the field.
Or the field, yes. There are more and more women in the field now, and I see that at Regions now. It's like there's more and more women, and I'm glad to see that. But I think a lot of people, it's just not something you hear about for project coordinators.
No.
And the first thing they think about is, "Ooh, I don't want to be a secretary," but it's not. It's totally different from being a secretary. I don't answer phones. I don't, I don't do anything of the old school, when you think about being an assistant or whatever, getting the coffee and all that stuff. It's not that. It's more working with the processes.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot more dignified than,
It is. And I like being on the job site because you can see what's going on, as opposed to in here, you're seeing the paperwork, but you're like, "Oh, I don't know anything about that." But when you're on the job site, I'm like, "Oh, this is why I'm doing that change order." I can see it. Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of watch the project come together too.
Yes, it was so interesting when we first built the 2009 Birth Tower. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because we did a topping off party, and
Did you?
it was It was just, I would lead some tours, help lead tours and everything. It was really I think for every project coordinator, at least she needs to go and see.
Yeah.
If it's a building from the ground up, you need to see what you're working on. It feels like it gives you more power.
Yes.
It's empowering, I should say.
Yeah.
To see it.
Yeah.
And then, because I like to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
And it gives you something concrete that you can you can point at. That you could bring your kids there and be like, I helped build that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. Next, I spoke to Bella Sawyer, who was recently promoted to assistant project manager. Her experience as an intern at KA gives her a unique perspective to share with young people entering the construction workforce. How did you get to the role that you have today? Were you always planning to work in construction, or did you just kind of happen upon?
Yeah, I actually didn't even know construction management was a degree option.
Yeah.
I did not start at the U of M, where I ended up graduating from. My main focus when I was pursuing a degree was actually criminal justice.
Oh, really?
So it was like completely different spectrum.
Huh.
And I bounced around a little bit just trying to find a school that felt right. And then I was looking at the University of Minnesota in particular to transfer to. And I was just kind of combing through the degrees, seeing what might be out there. Because I was kind of leaving the criminal justice interest in the past. Mm-hmm. And I saw construction management. I was like, hey, this is pretty interesting. And from there, I just really enjoyed the program. The program director was great. I think the University of Minnesota offers a lot of great options in terms of making sure that you have networking connections and just internship availability. Yeah. So I was just combing through, and Kraus-Anderson I found through a recommendation, I want to say. And yeah.
What do you do in a day? What was your role? I know you just got promoted to assistant project manager.
Yeah.
So what was your role before like, and what do you do now that's different?
I would say a little bit more ingrained within like the PCO or like the cost side of things. So reviewing costs as they come in for design changes and things like that. I'd say I've taken on a little bit more responsibility for. Yeah. I know between the two projects that I was working on primarily for St. Paul Public Schools, Hidden River and Highland, it was pretty similar in terms of spectrum of responsibilities, but there was a little bit, I would say, more on Highland, just with the leadership, I guess, if you will, just with the change between the original PM leaving, another PM going on maternity leave, and then getting another PM on the project. So it was a lot, but I think both projects overall offered a lot of great learning opportunities, and they helped me get more exposure to things that I'll be needing as a PM eventually on my day. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you have any specifics you want to share about, like, when you come in the morning, what kind of stuff do you have to, what are you responsible for? What do you have to manage? Do you manage people?
Yeah, I would say people, making sure that they're following through on the commitments that they said. I know calling people for the soup sometimes is a thing. Sometimes someone doesn't want to show up to a job site when they say they will. So the soup, it kind of, I guess, puts a wrench in his schedule, if you will. So just making sure that accountability side is followed through. Again, reviewing costs, reviewing questions as they come through, like RFIs, document management, things like that. Okay. So, yeah. Cool. All sorts of unique situations come up.
Yeah. Well, you were an intern here, right?
I was, yeah.
Cool. Yep. How was that experience?
I would say it was really beneficial. I actually interned with the healthcare group, so different from K through 12. But still got a lot of good networking opportunities within that group, exposure to the things that I do today that I wasn't really ingrained on like the day-to-day in the intern life. Yeah. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a great opportunity and great experience. So
perfect. Do you have any advice for women who are either interested in a construction management track or just the construction industry in general? Do you have any advice, anything that you've picked up along the way, anything that you might do differently than you did?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, not having any background in the construction industry compared to some of my counterparts, I think was a little bit intimidating to me at first. And sometimes it still is today. Yeah. Like when you're in a new scope of work that you've never experienced before in a project, or you're having a conversation you know absolutely nothing about. I think not being afraid to ask as many questions as you need to really wrap your head around it. Because I personally would rather ask more questions on the front end than everybody assume I know what I'm talking about, and I get to a spot and they're expecting me to know the answer, and I honestly don't. Yeah. So I think just don't be shy, and like be willing to put your foot in the door and keep it there until you can like slowly work your way in. And as long as you have like you're working towards an opportunity to have a seat at the table, you're constantly going to learn new things and just new experiences. So I think just don't be shy. So
do you have a memory as a woman in the construction industry? Maybe you were the only woman in the room at one point. Maybe you did something that made you feel really empowered.
I guess I feel like more often than not, I'm typically the only woman in the room. Like even at OEC progress meetings, I'm usually the only woman in the room, which is fine. I know sometimes you'll come across contractors that you can tell they have a little bit of a predisposition to, I would say, probably not be the most respectful towards you. I've come across that where they want to have a really angry conversation with you out of nowhere, but then they call another guy who's probably about the same playing field as you, and it's, pretty calm and collected, which is fine. But I think also being willing to like have those conversations with your supervisors so that they know what's going on and they can back you up, I think has been really helpful for me in the past. And just setting those boundaries. So yeah.
Cool. Do you have any role models in kind of either at KA or just in your line of work in general that?
Yeah, I would say if I could strive to be anyone at the company in terms of like confidence and just knowledge, it's not the same role, but she honestly could play it very well, is Crystal Burton. Oh yeah. She's amazing. I think she's super knowledgeable. I wish I had her confidence, and I really do strive to have it one day. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Third, I sat down with Jackie Scott, Director of Operations for KA Phoenix in Arizona. As an executive in an upstarting construction management office, she shared her tips for women balancing life and a demanding professional career. Anything you'd like to share about your background?
Sure. I'm a second generation builder, actually. My parents, my dad moved stateside. He grew up in Canada and moved stateside for a building project that was supposed to be a couple years and ended up taking a lot longer than that. Yeah. So the built environment I pretty much grew up in. I was the kid who tagged along with my dad to job site meetings and trailers and master planned my backyard with a community of different things and drew blueprints of homes and all of that growing up. So in some ways, Caitlin, it kind of was just part of my growing up experience. Educationally, I pursued medicine. So my undergraduate degrees are kinesiology, exercise science, which is basically like a pre-med degree, and a degree in psychology. I was planning to use those, got into a medical program in Denver, Colorado, and found out my husband and I were pregnant with our first, which that was a really big surprise. That was a pretty defining moment. I decided not to pursue med school, given some big life changes with expecting a little one, and I think kind of through that, spent a couple years raising two little kids, and ended up going back into the construction industry. Worked with my dad for a little bit, and then worked with a variety of different companies over the last 15, 16 years in the construction industry to get to this point. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for any maybe younger women who are listening who might be on one track and find themselves in one situation or another where they have to kind of pivot? Do you have any advice for someone like that?
I think the advice through my own experience lens is recognizing that the priorities in life, understanding what is most important in life is really a good compass to live by in a lot of ways. For me, it was, I never really had a mission or a strong desire to have a career. Quite frankly, I had a passion and loved studying medicine, but to me, my priority in life all along was being very present for my family. And what I do today is specifically for the benefit and well-being of my family. As to the environment that looks and that exists in, I think that can change and that can pivot throughout life given circumstances or just opportunities that present themselves. That it is it's fun in a lot of ways to kind of hold life tightly with your hands wide open from the standpoint of taking advantage of good opportunities that make sense for what's most important to you in life. If that's raising a family and providing for others, you might find yourself pivoting between different career paths and even in different professional settings. If developing a strong resume and experience in a specific specificity or vertical is most important, you might find your career path to be something very, very different. So I'd say the overarching advice I would give others is, have a strong understanding of what's really important to you in life, and to make that kind of the anchor of decisions and paths that you choose to pursue.
Would you mind telling me what your job looks like in a day? What are you responsible for managing in a position like yours? It's got to be a lot.
Yes, the job is no 2 days are the same. And oftentimes, Caitlin, I approach my day with an idea or a set of goals, priorities that I am tasked to complete or stay focused on. And I end the day going, wow, what was that? Nothing of that happened.
Yeah.
There's spontaneity. There's for sure a need to stay very focused. My day looks a lot like putting not very important or prioritizing aspects in a long list of, hey, those things are just going to be put on the back burner. I got to stay really focused on these top things. My day involves a lot of human interaction. I'm in a role where I'm not necessarily manipulating tools of the built environment, but I am 100% engaged in people, human interaction. So lots of conversations with teams, most likely revolving around conflict resolution. I kind of joke and laugh. A lot of times people are like, well, what if a problem arises? And I'm like, oh, it's not an if statement. This is when. It is 100% guaranteed in what we do that there will be conflict. So much of my day is spent in conflict resolution, whether that be working with our architect or subcontractor partners and resolving a conflict on a project or in a spec or plan or drawing set. Or if it's, through relational, conversational, communicative type conflict that we're working through to resolve a disagreement or find a path forward to be more productive. So communication, lots of human interaction. There's also a big part of my day that's spent in helping my team, being supportive of my team and clearing what I hope are roadblocks, removing things or obstacles that might be hindering a team member or a team from being as productive or influential as possible. I try to hone in on those and make those a priority to remove so that others on my team can be as successful as possible.
I imagine in working with all of these different types of people in the field and in the office, there has to be a time where maybe you felt a little bit more of the women make up 11% of the construction industry. I'm guessing there's been a time or two where you have felt that maybe isolation is the word that I'm looking for.
Sure. I'd say 99% of my meetings, interaction with project stakeholders, I am the only female in the meeting or group or leadership cohort. If not the only, women are predominantly the minority from just a numbers perspective representative in that project team or that leadership cohort or whatever that is. So the reality of women not percentage wise being representative to the percentage of male in our industry is, I don't think there's any disagreement on that. Where I see that as a really cool opportunity for women, and I guess more so personally for myself, is there's a lot of value in being in situations and circumstances where you don't blend in, where you are very much noticed to stand out, and sometimes that's just from a gender perspective, and I think though too, there's a lot of value beyond that from a perspective. I think the biological female brain brings to conversations and specifically conflict resolution a very different perspective than a male brain. And not to say one's right or one's wrong. I do see though there's huge value in a different perspective approach. That I try to harness those differences in those situations where, yes, emotionally, I guess I could kind of crawl into the corner of, man, I feel isolated and I'm the only female here and all of that. I find that mindset not being super productive to actually being influential in any regard. So I try to spend very little time on that and actually capitalize on how do we represent women in this industry, in this space, from a highly competent, very different perspective that's quite frankly needed a lot more in the industry, and is just a really good sounding board sometimes in a very male-dominated industry.
Mm-hmm. Would you have any advice for women in this industry or maybe another male-dominant sector? Would you have any advice for them to kind of, maybe they are trying to get to kind of a level sort of executive role that you're at? Would you have any advice for them?
Maybe not advice, more so just some realities of it's a hustle and it's an absolute grind. I would say, potentially stereotypically speaking of women, we tend to also carry the most domestic responsibilities as well, whether that be, immediate family, our own children, spouses, partners, and if not that, oftentimes we are in the primary caregiving role of, extended family. That the weight of those responsibilities demands that we have to hustle harder. Sometimes in the professional setting, we have to be a little bit more efficient. We have to find ways of higher productivity because oftentimes the demands on our personal plates necessitate that we have to find a different level professionally to operate at, to stand out and to advance in our careers. So women who are looking to set themselves apart and have standout careers, it's not advice, I guess, just the understanding of it takes an inordinate amount of hustle and commitment and grind and relentless persistence through challenges or obstacles, or just quite frankly the lack of energy sometimes to keep it all going. Exactly. And that's okay. I think too there's times and spaces in a woman's life where, again, back to kind of the priorities, of a woman in their personal and professional careers. I believe there's often times of just a reprioritizing, right, of some career goals, maybe not being, hey, this is the right time in life to really advance this, and other times in life where it's a lot more achievable and realistic, that be gracious with yourself as a woman, of just balancing the timeline of when and how to move forward with some awesome, but very lofty professional goals. There might be time and space where it's not appropriate, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's 100% okay. If, I'd say to do it to prove a point to somebody else, you'll end up really burnt out and disappointed and frustrated. But to do it for what you believe are your goals and what you want to achieve, that is the best place to have those goals and achieve them from. I often get called by my last name in the industry.
Really?
All the time. My last name is Scott, and I always kind of giggle internally to myself sometimes, especially when, connecting with a potentially new client or new connection in the market space over email, and called Scott all the time. And you go to meet this person and you see that like quick flash of realization on their eyes of, oh, this is not Scott's the last name. Oh, okay. This is something different.
Lastly, Shauna Haney sat down with me to discuss her experience as a lead project coordinator. With almost 11 years' experience, finally landing in the government market sector, Shauna gives us a holistic and optimistic look at life working in the built marketplace. So Shauna.
Hello.
Hello. Would you be able to tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to the project coordinator role that you have today?
I knew nothing about construction when I started. I actually remember one of the first meetings that I was in as a project coordinator, and I just sat there. They were using different terminology and different acronyms for things, and I just was blank face, what are these people talking about? However, the good thing about being a project coordinator is you don't really need to have the construction background. It's more of an administrative role. So I had an administrative background, but also I think we, in our project coordinator group, look more for if you're going to be a good fit with culture and you have a positive attitude, and teamwork is huge for us. And so we look more are you going to be a good fit with our group here? The construction stuff is an added bonus, right? You'll learn that as you go, but as long as you're good at the administrative side and working as a team, because we do work with multiple teams. So as long as you're good at that and have that open mindset, that's really gonna slingshot you forward in the project coordinator role.
Yeah. You said your background's in admin. Did you go to school for that? Or?
I did not, but this is kind of a funny thing.
Okay.
So I went to school for social science.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a relationship and marriage therapist.
That's amazing.
Yes, until you realize, do you really want to listen to people's problems all day long?
I do with my own marriage thing.
Exactly. Great in theory, but so I quickly I didn't go down that route. Did a ton of different jobs with administrative type things. But it is funny because my boss now, I work in project coordination. I do nothing with what my degree's in. And she's actually, you probably use more of your therapist, social science background than you really think that you do, because every day is a balance act between different personalities and everything. So
yeah. Well, aside from emotional regulation, what do you do in a day? What are you responsible
all sorts
for
of things.
Today?
Day to day for us is a lot of to-do lists, really, at the end of the day. We utilize our emails mainly as our to-do list of items to do. However, you're still going to get pulled away with phone calls or people coming to your desks or whatnot. We deal with a lot of the behind the scenes type of things. And so we'll do everything from writing multi-million-dollar contracts to sending carpet samples to a design team, right? We have such a wide range of our day-to-day type things. A lot of what we do is supporting kind of that middleman, right? Of supporting the owner with the owner needs, supporting the subcontractor with their needs, supporting the design team with their needs, all while also supporting the PM. So we're kind of the office people, so the PM can be the boots on the ground doing things.
Yeah.
We do a lot of document management. So a lot on the computer, like I said, our emails are our to-do list. we have different softwares that we use to track different, like whether it's the submittals that are being processed, the RFIs or questions that are being asked, costs, so change orders and those implications, and so it's a lot of start of the contract, or start of the project, like I said, so from writing contracts all the way to closing out the project, so you really see start to finish with a project, which is really kind of a cool thing to experience for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned having to balance a lot of different things and support a lot of different people. Therapist background maybe coming into play there a little bit too. Is that inherent for you, or do you have any advice for people who are project coordinators who, like, how do you learn to keep all of those balls in the air?
Oh, well, it's tough. And it's tough when you're, I don't want to say like a control freak. We tell people, even when we interview them, like, what we do is not black and white. Like, yes, we have processes and we have procedures that we do that try to keep things uniform. Yeah. However, so much of what we do is a gray area to where a client might have certain needs on this project, where your client on your other project has completely different needs, and working with different design teams and different project managers and just internal teams, but then also external teams. And you have to be able to kind of mold and configure to what works for, what worked on this job in the past might not be the same thing that's going to work on this job. So like I said, having like a black and white mindset isn't going to help you move forward. Like, being able to kind of, move and sway depending on what the project needs are going to make you stronger in that role for sure. And I think probably in general for construction, right? Like project managers too, like knowing that, again, what you did on the past project might not work for this client and their needs. So,
do you have any advice for women in particular who are looking to either work in the construction industry or who maybe know they want to be a project coordinator, basically young women kind of coming up and going to school and trying to get their first jobs? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah. So like I said, I did not have a construction background, so you don't need to have that to start in construction project coordination. Yeah, see, there you go. But you do, I think, just need to be a hard worker, and you need to, like I said, be organized, be flexible, be willing to work as a team, because it's very much, it's not just you sitting at a desk staring at a computer, right? Like you are talking with a lot of different players for each project. So it's nice because we have so many consistencies of what we do, but we're also dealing with multiple projects at a time. And so those consistencies are different for each project, which kind of make it more interesting and more, like, yes, I know that today I'm going to do X, Y, Z. However, it might just be a little bit different X, Y, Z because of the project that I'm working on. Yeah. Knowing that you're building something that's going to be in our community is like such a positive impact, at least for me. I work a lot in our public sector, dealing with a lot of different like school projects, city type, like city halls, police departments, fire departments. And so knowing that our community, both now and obviously in the future, are going to be utilizing these is really like a different aspect of pride that like you're not used to feeling, like being able to know that you're making a difference, I guess, in the community, even though it's just a building. It's like this building is going to be used for years upon years, right? And
did you get to pick the government kind of market sector, or did you?
I didn't.
Okay, so just a coincidence.
So I came from our Circle Pines office, which did do a lot of our public sector stuff back in the day. However, I've kind of done a lot of different projects. So I've done some data centers, I've done some commercial projects. So yeah, I've kind of been all over the place. I feel like our school projects have always kind of been strong for us. Our government in the last 3 to 5 years has like skyrocketed the amount of government projects. And so I think because of that, it kind of molded into like, hey, we really need you on this public side of things, which again, like I love that. I'm not saying that like apartments or casinos or whatever don't impact the community, but it's cool to just see some of the community spaces being utilized that really affect the community. But yeah, I did not get to pick random up, but I love it. Cool. Yeah, it's cool to see communities really dive into projects too. Like I'm working on a project right now down in Burnsville, and they did like a grand opening for the project and invited the whole community out, and they had a kids DJ and food trucks, and then they kind of did like a touch a truck with the fire trucks and everything like that. And so it's cool, like you said, to kind of bring the community together and really engage them in something that they're going to be utilizing for years down the road. So
Yeah.
that's
Some
way
people
cool.
have really cool cookies too. I think it was Victoria Fire Station.
See, Burnsville had them too. Like, yeah, cookies with like their name on them. Yeah, they
Yes.
were delicious. Yeah.
But yeah, if you're willing to share, do you have any general kind of lessons that you've learned along the way that you might want to share for listeners, regardless of their gender? Maybe there's something that everyone can learn from stuff that you've experienced.
So I would say, like, relationships as a whole, knowing that the chances of you working with one person now and working with them again sometimes later in your career is pretty high, right? So respect that you give people is what you're going to get in return, right? So I think leading with that, knowing like if you're giving them respect, most of the time they're going to get back to you. There definitely, I think, is like showing consistency, showing those actions of integrity and merit, I think go a long ways. And I think it kind of quiets, right? Like it quiets those that maybe want to try and be intimidating and try to kind of knock you down. Yeah. And I think finding common ground, right? Like we're all here to finish the project at the end of the day, right? Like we all have a finish line that we need to cross. And so really at the end of the day, like everyone that works in construction really are good human beings. And yes, being a female in a male dominated field, like you might have some hurdles to cross and whatnot. But I also strongly believe that confidence kills, right? Like confidence kills the egos. So I think if you go into it knowing your self-worth and your empowerment, and like I said, it knocks those egotistical people down real fast when you show up like that. Yeah. And you hold yourself high and you know that you have a space here too. Yeah. I think that like 99% of the time, males respect the fact that you have a spot at the table, right? Like they are more than willing to pull the seat back for you, right? And they love it. But I think that 1% of the time, you just have to remind them which spot is yours. And so thank you guys.
Yes, thank you
This
so
was
much.
fun. Hey.
That wraps up this episode of Build Me Up. Be sure to check back in every month on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.